All right, here we go. Greetings and salutations, everybody. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to our Sunday live stream here, August 21st, 2022. I want to welcome you guys. Of course, today is going to be pretty similar to what yesterday consisted of. I'm going to be here to help you guys for the next couple hours, answering questions to the best of my ability, and of course, drafting some teams, giving you guys some context as to why I specifically draft the way I do. Hopefully, drafting with you guys via Underdog, and pretty much all of that. So if you've got a question, be sure to type it in the chat. Let me know. Of course, that's the schedule. Very simple and sweet. So let me go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and throw up the window here for the YouTube chat. I'm gonna scroll up to the top and I'm just gonna start answering away and letting you guys know what I think. All right, let's see here. Supreme, how's it going? Here we go. All right, so Blackbeard immediately coming in with a question. Says, I draft 9 out of potential 10. Out of 10 in 2 leagues. Should I draft Kelsey or a top 10 running back in the first round? Well, it depends. If you think that the player to the right of you, the 10th pick of your leagues, is going to take Kelsey, and you're perfectly fine coming back in the second round and getting any of those available running backs, then if you want to prioritize Kelsey, you would take him at 9 in order to avoid him from going at 10 and then the start of the second round. And then at 2.02, you take a running back and you're fine. In my opinion, I think Kelsey's like he's my 12th overall player on my big board. So I don't mind taking him, a couple picks ahead just to ensure that I get him, because you're going to get a top tier running back regardless as the second round comes back to you. I saw a donation was sent in. I'll get to that in a moment. Thank you very much. A says, do you think PPR? Do you think in a PPR league giving Derrick Henry, James Conner, Chris Godwin for Lamb, Diggs, Mitchell, and Singletary is a good trade? Okay, so if we're just looking at it in a vacuum, and I have no context to the rest of your team, giving Henry, Conner, and Godwin for Lamb, Diggs, Mitchell, and Singletary, I'd rather. Here's the thing. If you're going to give away Henry and Conner, and I'm assuming your starting running backs are going to be Mitchell and Singletary, I don't want any part of it. That's just my, philosophy. I'd like to have those running backs, coming out and carrying my team. Of course, Lamb and Diggs are, first, second round prospects in their own right, especially in a full PPR, that they're definitely going to be in the conversation of putting up a high value of points. But I just don't know what the rest of your wide receivers look like. So in a vacuum, I think I'd just rather keep what you have. Let's see here. Stuart says, hey, Andrew, I'm in a 10-team half PPR league. Have to choose between the following 3. Okay. Choose between Justin Jefferson, Kelsey, Chubb, and Fournette. Usually I like to take running backs early, but not sure what to do. Thanks, buddy. Okay. So Justin Jefferson, automatic keep in my eyes. If I'm keeping another one of these players, it's probably Kelsey. Because I value Kelsey higher than Chubb and Fournette going into this upcoming season. So now that you've already solidified your top wide receiver and your top tight end, you can keep one of these running backs and then immediately draft a running back off the board in your first round here. But if I'm keeping one, a half PPR league, I still have Fournette higher than him. If something is to happen in the next couple weeks where Kareem Hunt is to get traded and moved off this roster, I would then move Chubb ahead of Fournette. But for right now, I prefer Fournette, and that's what I'd keep. Let's hear. Alex Miller says, and just for those of you who think, hey, Andrew, isn't like Leonard Fournette, a little bit injury prone? Isn't there a possibility that he could go down considering he's never played a full season? I mean, just look at the last 2 years for Nick Chubb. He's missed 4 games a pop, right? So there's no way of predicting injuries, and there's no way of avoiding them either. And that's just the nature of the sport. So as of right now, like Nick Chubb and Fournette just have as much injury potential in 2022. So I just rather have the PPR receiving threat that is Fournette in the better offense. Okay, Alex Miller says, better duo, Alvin Kamara and Travis Kelce, or Dalvin Cook and Mark Andrews? Alvin Kamara and Travis Kelce. Assuming that Kamara plays a full season, yeah, he's the better duo for sure. Because Kelce, in my opinion, is better than Andrews. And, Alvin Kamara is only ranked where he is on my list because I'm still a little bit weary about it. Otherwise, I legitimately think he's probably top 6, maybe top 5, especially in a full PPR. Okay, another donation was sent in. Let me go back to the older donation that we had. It was from Jimmy. Jimmy, I want to thank you again for contributing to the channel and supporting. He said, will Josh Jacobs see less production with Devontae Adams on the offense. And in full PPR, is Josh Jacobs a good RB2? All right, so I don't think Josh Jacobs is limited by the arrival of Devontae Adams. I think Devontae Adams makes it that much more difficult for defensive coordinators to choose. You know, they got to pick their poison. You're either going to leave Devontae Adams on an island and then he's going to dice you up, or you have to take care of Renfrow, who's also a route machine, and Waller. So what really, the 2022 is going to be very easy for the offensive coordinator, which probably is going to be, you know, Josh McDaniels calling all of it, even though he's the head coach. He's going to be pretty easy for him because it's going to be really difficult to stack the box against the Las Vegas Raiders. It truly is going to be. Derek Carr is a good enough quarterback to be able to spread out the defense and force them to not be able to stack the box. They'll run the ball consistently with Josh Jacobs. The only reason Josh Jacobs has fallen in terms of value in many of our eyes is the fact that they have other running backs in that backfield that could certainly vie for receiving work. Again, last year, he didn't see much receiving work until after Kenyon Drake went down with that injury. Because of the fact that Kenyon Drake went down, his numbers at the back end of the year skyrocketed, which kind of leveled it out and had his overall production in averages pretty high there. But that's kind of where that's why I have him as like my 20th ranked running back. I still think, regardless of whether he catches the ball often, he is still going to be a main component of this offense and a huge goal line threat this year. So yeah, as an RB2, I'm perfectly fine there. But you got to make some, if you're going to have Josh Jacobs as your immediate RB2, considering where he's coming off of draft boards, I would assume that your wide receiver position, maybe your tight end position, is stacked as well. Because you waited for that second running back, but I'm perfectly fine with it. All right, there was another donation here. Clarence, thank you very much. Says, happy to see you back, Andrew. Thank you very much, Clarence. That's very generous of you. I just want to give you guys a reminder. If you decide on sending in a question, I greatly appreciate that. But again, another way to use $10 like that and potentially get my 2022 fantasy football draft rankings is via Underdog Fantasy. Again, there's a link down in the description. If you go there, travel to Underdog Fantasy, use promo code Andrew, make a first-time deposit. I think the minimum is $10. You'll get a deposit match. And not only that, I will personally, within 24 hours, send you a email of my 2022 fantasy football draft rankings, half PPR, full PPR, top 200 flex, positional rankings by tier across the board, even to kicker and defense. And I think the next wave of emails that I'll be sending out is before 2 p.m. PST. So 2 hours from now, I'll send out another wave. So if you do sign up before then, you'll definitely get this, at least today's send out. And then I will subsequently be updating it weekly and sending it to you until the end of August. And I think the last day I'll send it is September 3rd. Anyway, thank you. Okay, so a lot of questions got sent in. And I'm going to just try to rapid fire as quickly as I can. Here we go. Okay, we need more 2QB and auction content. Here's the thing, Dan. As much as there are a lot of you that say, hey, I need 2QB content or auction content, I've done the analytics, I've done the research. There really isn't that big of an audience to justify it. That's purely what it is, right? Like, I'm perfectly fine putting out 2QB Superflex, draft strategy video. But when it gets to auction leagues, man, I mean, the YouTube algorithm, there's not a lot of people searching for auction leagues. I'm just going to keep it, a stack with you. Does Chase Edmonds have potential being top 15 back in a full PPR? If he's given as much work as he potentially can be, like if Chase Edmonds catches the ball 50 times this year, and is used as somewhat of the primary goal line back, I think there's a very good potential in a full PPR for him to get there. Half PPR is going to be a little bit more difficult because those touchdowns and those rushing attempts are going to have to be, coming at a consistent basis. But that upside in receiving work could very easily get him into that conversation. Brady N says, hey, Andrew, who do you like the most in a Superflex league? Carr, Dak, Lance, or Stafford? Okay, if it's Superflex and it's 4 point per passing touchdown, I would rank them Lance, Stafford, Dak, Carr in that exact order. 4 point per passing touchdown. If it's a 6, it would go Stafford. I don't know if I got to do the calculations on. It would probably go Stafford, Dak, Lance, Carr, and run it down in a 6 point per passing touchdown league, considering how much Dak and Stafford are going to sling it through the air. Let's see here. Thank you, Colton. Appreciate that. All right. So what do we have here? Cup or Jefferson, third overall in a full PPR. Okay. So I had this conversation with somebody yesterday. truth be told, I prefer Kupp. Maybe it's the Rams bias. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. I think he's still going to have very high potential upside going into this year, despite the legendary season he had last season. I understand the offensive coordinator change in Minnesota, but it's going to be really tough for Justin Jefferson to eclipse him. If he's able to, so be it. Right now, in a full PPR, I have Jefferson, Kupp in my number one tier at the wide receiver position, which means I'm comfortable taking either of them as the number one wide receiver off the board. I just slightly prefer Kupp. That's why I have him ranked higher as my number one, while Jefferson's number two. Half PPR, third pick, who are you taking? Assuming Taylor, McCaffrey are gone, in a half PPR, I would take Henry third. It's either Henry or best available receiver, which would be Kupp or Jefferson. What's up, Kirk? How's it going? Darren Waller or George Kittle in the fifth in a PPR? It depends. Darren Waller in the last couple weeks has been injured and has not been practicing as much as we would have liked him to. That is something that we got to keep an eye on. So as of right now, I'm thinking to myself, Kittle, and just I'll roll it with there. Jimmy sent in another donation. Thank you. Regarding the rankings, you haven't got it at 30. With the ACL injury influence, the gameplay, because pretty well last year. Yeah, I mean, listen, here's the thing about Godwin, right? I don't know. I have no clue when he will actually be fully himself. It's the same thing with J.K. Dobbins. The reason why I have J.K. Dobbins lower than others is because what many running backs have said is that typically when they come back from their first year back from their injury, they have a hard time trusting their knee, right? And a lot of running backs don't like to use their brace, and a lot of running backs just want to, immediately get back and try to go full speed, and it's tough to get back from that ACL injury, right? So same thing with a receiver like Chris Godwin. Obviously, he's on a way shorter timeline than a Dobbins. The only reason I have Chris Godwin where he is because of the progress he's shown so far, and I know that over the course of the last decade here, wide receivers don't get hit as hard as running backs in terms of these devastating knee injuries. Obviously, there's low success rates on both each, but based on what Godwin was able to do last year and how much of an offensive threat he is for Brady and how much they're going to throw the ball, I feel like he could still miss the first 4 weeks and still be a top 30 wide receiver in my eyes. Andrew, did you see Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman last night? I did. I thought Usman was going to win that, guys. I mean, I literally sat there with the homies and I said, and I quote, Usman takes people to the ground and it's a 25-minute boring fight. And then all we see is Edwards just putting it on him consistently, just apps. And then, I mean, that kick, the jab into the head kick. Whew, my goodness. What a machine of a kick, huh? Greetings and salutations. Says, thoughts on A-Rob, Claypool, Cordero Patterson, and Chark. Okay, real quick. A-Rob, I have him as my number 15 wide receiver ranked. I think Patterson's my number 25 running back. Claypool's in the low 30s, high 30s, so he's like 38 or something of that extent. 38 or 40, I don't know, somewhere over there. And DJ Chark's outside of my top 50 because I don't know if Jared Goff is going to be able to supply him with enough targets to make him a relevant receiving option on a weekly basis. MK says 12-team keeper league. I see. Okay, there's another donation sent in from Jacob. I'm going to get to you right now. Let me just answer this question from MK21. 12-team league, it's a keeper. We got the 4th spot, and we're keeping Jamar Chase in the 5th round. All right, that's awesome. Derrick Henry being kept. All right. The next best running back I could get would be Najee Harris. Would you rather have Justin Jefferson or Najee Harris? 12-team keeper league. Listen, if I'm ranking the player that I think is going to score more points this year, I'd rather have Justin Jefferson because I think he will score more than Najee Harris effectively. Especially, as long as it's not a standard league. If it's half or full PPR, I'll go with JJ there. If you think the running back position is going to fall apart because of how many teams are keeping running back in your league, then maybe you can go and just pick Najee and just avoid that kind of, you're hoping in the second round a running back gets to you. But I'm still in a position where I think you could probably get away with taking JJ in the first round and still getting like a top 14 running back in your second round, assuming not everyone's being kept. All right, Jacob sent a question in the chat or via donation. Jacob, thank you. Says 148.49. Okay, so you're trading picks. So you're saying you want to trade the number 1 overall pick for the last pick of the 4th round and the first pick of the 5th round. So a 1st, a 4th, and a 5th for the 12-13, which is end of the first, beginning of the second, and then 61. So are we trading Jonathan Taylor for DeAndre Swift and Saquon Barkley? And then what is 48-49? 48-49 could very easily be like Kittle and then Mahomes or something of that extent, right? Or Bateman, Lamar Jackson. So I'm just trying to I'm trying to put value to the selections, Jacob, so that I, in my own mind, can think, okay, would I rather have Jonathan Taylor, Lamar Jackson, and Rashad Bateman, or would I rather have Swift, Saquon, and with 61? 61 is the end of the fifth, beginning of the sixth round. Who's a sixth round value back there? Like maybe Amon-Ra St. Brown? I'm going to make a poll out of this, actually. I want to actually see what y'all think. So let's see here. Trade question. I know obviously those picks don't have to be the selections, but in my mind, that's kind of where I have it. And Bateman, or we go ahead and we take Swift, Saquon, and St. Brown. All right. As of right now, I'm thinking I'd rather just keep Taylor in the gang, but I mean, let's see what everybody else thinks. Okay, a couple more donations came in. One from RR. He says, I'm in a 10-team dynasty league. Okay. 3 keepers. Amon-Ra in the third for a third-round pick. Essentially a sixth in a redraft. Yay or nay? It's a dynasty league where you keep... Okay, so it's just a keeper league. It's not a dynasty league per se, right? If you're keeping Amon-Ra for a third-round pick, essentially a sixth in a redraft, so you're basically keeping him in your sixth round, right? I don't know why you would say... Oh, I understand what you're saying, because everybody moves up. Amon-Ra in the sixth in a keeper league, I think that's basically where you would be able to draft him normally in a redraft, right? That's where he's coming off the board. You know what I mean? So at this point, I'd say I look elsewhere purely. Anthony says 5th pick in the draft. Okay, goodness gracious, we're getting so many donos in here. I just want to see this. Okay, let's see here. TFG Beats. Actually, no, it was Anthony sent in the question. He said, 5th pick of the draft, leaning towards Herbert in the 6th round as a keeper, okay, over Christian McCaffrey in the 1st. Running back seems to be everyone's keeper. Well, that's the thing. If you're the 5th pick and everyone's keeping a running back, chances are the number 1 overall pick is going to be McCaffrey. So if you don't end up keeping McCaffrey, you are what would you have to keep him in? McCaffrey in the 1st round? I think I'm willing to keep him in the 1st round. I would give up the 1.05. That's me. If you want to keep Herbert for the next couple of years, by all means, go for it. But I think I'm in a position where I'm looking to probably want to keep McCaffrey there in the 1st. TFG Beat says, faith in Swift finishing top 5 in a PPR. I hope so, man. I mean, that would be music to my ears. The amount of Swift I have this season, I have so many shares of him. Differences between 12 and a 14-team PPR. First time switching to the size of this league. Thank you, sir. Okay, so the biggest difference is I don't know if there's a huge difference per se. Obviously, everyone's team is going to be extremely thin. You're not going to have as much depth. So when you make a selection and hey, all right, the draft board is going to go down and 20 players are gone, you pretty much have to choose the player that you really want, right? Even if you're overdrafting by like 5 picks, it doesn't matter because that player is going to be gone at that point, right? So if I'm sitting at the back end of if I'm at the start of the 2nd round, I have the 14th pick. If I'm picking 2 players, I have to understand purely that once the draft goes down and comes back to me and 26 selections are made prior to my next selection, like you take your top 26 players off the board and just X them out and see what's remaining. If nothing looks like it's, of interest at running back or wide receiver, then you got to address the position accordingly because of that. I would say you probably want to lock down your main studs. Typically in a 14-team league, Hero running back is probably not the worst idea. Like you take like a stud in the first round, and then you start addressing wide receivers and tight ends, and then later in your draft you get a Chase Edmonds and he's your RB2, and you hope that he keeps catching the ball, so that you're not too far in on that running back position early to where that PPR advantage at wide receiver diminishes too much. GK92 said, okay, that was GK's question. Thank you. JK now says 10-team full PPR. I have the 10th pick. What should I do since I have back-to-back picks? Any two players to target? Okay, well, look, here's the thing. There's one of two options that I would go with. I'm going double running back, or I'm going RB and Kelsey. At this point, I'm thinking to myself, if the best available players are Swift, just like I was going earlier, if it's Swift, Saquon, Aaron Jones, Kelsey, I'm probably looking at taking if it's a 10-team league, I'm not as worried about running back running out per se. I think I can get a good one in the third. So I would probably go running back and then Kelsey. So whichever running back you prefer out of the bunch, and then take Kelsey there and just let it roll down. Final donation question as of right now. AJ Brown and Montgomery equal the easiest schedules. Target them. Yeah, AJ Brown certainly has the easiest at the wide receiver position. I think we talked about it yesterday. Montgomery has the 4th easiest on my list. But I'll show you guys those calculations on Tuesday when the running back strength of schedule video comes out. Okay. Let me get back into this chat. Thank you for the donations, everybody. Again, you're not obligated to send those. I'll answer your question in the chat as best as I can as soon as I see it. All right, Mark D says, hey, buddy. Okay, so where did this thing go real quick? So pretty much went in the idea of keeping the first, 48th, and 49th. Thank you very much for everybody who voted. All right, so hey, buddy. Would you take Kenneth Gainwell over Brian Robinson in Washington? As of right now, I have Kenneth Gainwell slightly higher, but I don't know. I mean, I think the potential for upside that Brian Robinson has in comparison is far too high to ignore. I think Gainwell is great, but what Philadelphia did last year when Miles Sanders was out, specifically when Gainwell was healthy, they used a lot of Boston Scott. They brought in Jordan Howard, and they ran a 3-man committee. So as of right now, I think the upside of taking a Brian Robinson may be worth it in the end. Based on what we've kind of seen, he was taking first-team reps yesterday. Antonio Gibson's kind of fallen off the bandwagon there. Scotty Buckets says, keep Kyler in the 4th or Dawson Knox in the 10th. I was going to say I don't like either. But I guess if I had to pick one, it would be Kyler in the 4th. I just don't know if Kyler's worth a 4th right now. That's the thing. Like in a regular redraft league, I would not use a 4th rounder on Kyler. I use a 5th or a 6th on him, but not a 4th. That's what makes it difficult there, Scotty. Harry Wolf says, I have the 3rd pick in a 10-team PPR. Should I take Eckler, Kupp, or Jefferson? As of right now, I have the wide receivers ranked higher than Eckler. So I would go Kupp, Jefferson, Eckler in that order. Again, like I was mentioning before, if you prefer Jefferson over Kupp, that's not a problem with me. Griffin says, in a half PPR keeper league, my only 2 options are to keep CeeDee Lamb and Antonio Gibson. My only options are to keep either CeeDee Lamb. Wait. Yeah, if you're saying who do I keep, I'm assuming is one of the 2 because you say and. It would be or. Nonetheless, you're keeping CeeDee Lamb. That's a given. Is Swift the real deal this year? Yes or no? I mean, here's the thing. DeAndre Swift needs to stay fully healthy this year. Fingers crossed for every player, of course, but he's missed some time in the last 2 years. If he's able to stay fully healthy, I don't see why he can't continue to average 15 to 16 fantasy points in a half PPR, more in a full, and just continue to, because of his availability, rack those points and get into a top, running back conversation. I mean, that's the whole thing. As long as you're continuously there and active, you're going to be in that top conversation because there are going to be so many other running backs that miss time. But again, we don't know what's going to happen in terms of that. Let's see here. Bosquan Gaiman says, Bateman or Elliott week 1? Way too early. Way too early. It's Bateman versus the Jets and Zeke versus Tampa Bay. Listen, typically, dude, I don't even want to answer the question. I already know the answer. I just don't. We'll get there when we get there, okay? Because Zeke has a terrible schedule week 1. I'll just say that. All right. Tomas says, thoughts on the tight end position this year? I think the year, I think last year you liked the third round tight end selection. Last year, yes, I liked the potential of what a late second, early third round tight end looked like. Mainly because Waller was insane the year before in a full PPR. He had like over 100 catches in 2020. So 2021, Waller was like the hype play and the guy to go after. As of right now, tight end is a little risky. Obviously, I think Kelce and Andrews deserve to be first and second round selections, but everybody subsequently after, I'd rather get at a lower value because Kittle, Waller, they're not guarantees to score as many touchdowns as the top 2-tier guys. Kelce scored 10 touchdowns each, 3 out of the last 4 seasons. Andrews has consistently been 7 or 8 plus touchdowns every year. Waller and Kittle, I think Kittle had his most touchdowns of his career last year. Those numbers may grow, but I don't know if it's a guarantee to get up into that range, which makes them that much more of a difficult investment early on. How's Michael Thomas this year? I mean, he looks healthy. That's a good start. In comparison to the last couple of years, that's a pretty good start in my eyes. Let's see. Jackson says, would you start... who should be the first running back? 2.8. Okay. Who should be the first run? I mean, the first available running back I'm thinking about in a 2.08 position in a 10-team league would probably still be, I mean, what is that? That's the 18th player off the board. I mean, there's a very good chance that, I'm trying to think, is Aaron Jones going to be there? Is Fournette going to be there? Nick Chubb? Javonte Williams? Those players will be there, I'm assuming. So, I mean, if you want to, but my assumption is that you're going to start wide receiver there, Jackson, and then you'll come back and get one of those running backs, which I don't mind. ETN or Connor, no keeper stipulations. So just basically who's better this year. I prefer Connor. All right, a couple donations sent in. Keegan says, having the 9th pick in a keeper league, missing the 4th and 5th round. Okay, ETN is my keeper in the 16th. What's the draft strategy? I also have Mixon in the 2nd. All right, so you have a 1st, you don't have a 2nd, you have a 3rd, you don't have a 4th or a 5th. So basically, you need to draft wide receiver, You need to draft wide receiver, purely. So your first round selection should be a wide receiver, and your 3rd round selection should be a wide receiver. Because by the end of the 5th round, when you get to the 6th, you'll have ETN, Mixon, wide receiver. Now, you can throw in a tight end there and then address wide receiver in the 6th, but you certainly already have addressed running back with your keepers, with Mixon in the 2nd and ETN in the 16th. You need to go ahead and you need to immediately try to get those wide receiver pickups. That would be my suggestion as of right now. Now, if Travis Kelce is there at the back end and is not being kept, and at the 9th pick of this league, you can take Kelce, I'm okay with that. But otherwise, it's got to be a receiver play. Lucky says, drafting 7th in a 12-team full PPR. If the top 3 wide receivers are already taken, who would you still take Adams in the 1st round or go Henry or Cook? Yeah, if it's my choice, I would rather have the running back there over Adams. I think Adams is going to be good. I don't think he's going to be as ridiculous as he was in the last couple of years with Aaron Rodgers. There's a significant drop-off in quarterback play. And I think there's going to be a noticeable drop-off in total opportunities. We're not going to see Adams targeting 10 targets a game. Now, if that happens, I'll eat my words, and that's perfectly fine. I don't mind being wrong on that point because that just means more fantasy points for us. But for right now, I would say that I'd rather just go running back there with either of those 2 options you mentioned. They're lucky. Anthony sent in a question, says, do you think 3 running backs in the first 3 rounds is best this year? No, it's awful. To be totally honest, unless you are getting 3 players you shouldn't be. For example, if I get Taylor as my number 1 overall pick, and then by the time the 2nd round and 3rd round picks come along, somehow, some way, Aaron Jones and, I don't know, Saquon Barkley are available. Aaron Jones and Leonard Fournette are available, right? If 3 of the top 12 running backs can be on my roster, I would consider it. But even then, it makes it that much more difficult for the following rounds. But hey, if it's available, I'd be okay with that. But otherwise, going into the draft saying I'm going to take 3 running backs no matter who they are, that's not the way to go. Lucas says 6 teams, 2 quarterbacks, and then we have 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers. Okay, yep. High value on quarterback. How do I draft it? In a 6-team league, I'm not too worried about quarterbacks. I would say try to grab one of the top 6, and then after that, don't worry about it, because truth be told, if there's only 6 teams in your league, everyone is going to get 3 or 4 quarterbacks on that roster. And you're not going to really have to worry about it because you can then just play matchups going forward. As long as you have one top dog at the quarterback position, I'm fine then just ignoring the quarterback position for a little while until, maybe Matt Ryan later on, and just stack up on running back, wide receivers, and tight ends. Thank you. All right, thanks, Lucas. Let's go ahead. Let me update this chat real quick. Okay, so where are we at here? We're at 12:30. Been streaming for about 30 minutes. In about 8 minutes here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start up a underdog draft. I will post the link in the chat in about 8 minutes from now. And if you guys are interested and you've got an underdog account, you can hop in there. It'll be a $3 buy-in, and we'll be competing against each other. All right. Thielen or Allen Robinson? Mark, I prefer Allen Robinson. All right. Jordan says, keeping Swift in the 4th. I have a 10th pick in a 12-team full PPR. How do I approach my 1st and 2nd round? Keeping Swift in the 4th. I have the 10th pick in a 12-team league. In your first 2 rounds, I don't know who's being kept, but if you can address best available running back, maybe get Kelsey, I think I'm okay with that. Because if you're keeping Swift in the 4th, you'd be able to get running back, tight end, wide receiver with your first 3 picks, and then keep Swift in the 4th, and then go either wide receiver or quarterback in the 5th and be fine. So I would look to, if Kelsey's available, try to go running back, tight end. If there is no Kelsey, go running back, wide receiver in your first 2 picks. And then again, subsequently address wide receiver or quarterback, or maybe even tight end in that 5th round once we get there. But again, by the time you get there, I don't know what's going to be on or off the board. Your league is different than mine, so could be interesting. Is Jacobs still the guy for the Raiders? Until otherwise noted, yeah, he's still the starter. Nathan says, no, it's a keeper. No, it's keeper, but no round. Okay. So you're not punished for keeping them. Okay, so I got it. Okay, so let me scroll back up, Nathan. Let me see if I can. So you said ETN or Connor. So if there's no round, okay, I get it. You're keeping ETN then, because if you're thinking about the future, ETN is more likely to stay afloat and be a definite option for you going forward. So then, yeah, you would keep ETN. I thought okay, yeah. So if you're not being punished by round, it's basically like you're keeping them and they're not counted within your 16, picks. Yeah, keep ETN. Michael Williams sends in a question, says, picking 12th in a PPR keeper league. Okay. Missing my 2nd and my 6th round. Only have Renfro. Okay. What is the draft strategy you suggest? If you're picking 12th in a keeper league and you don't have a 2nd round pick or a 6th, and you only have Renfro, you need to take running back in your 1st round. And then your 3rd round, when it gets there, and your 3rd and 4th have got to be running back, wide receiver. And then you just play the draft by ear for the rest of the way. Because really, I don't know what's going to be available. I don't know if a tight end is going to get to you in the 5th. I don't know which quarterbacks are going to be there. They could come off quicker than I think, or they could just be kind of delayed. And you may be able to grab a Patrick Mahomes, in the 5th round, which I like that value a lot. So for right now, you certainly need to address running back immediately, considering you have none on roster, and then subsequently go after building that position with wide receiver as the draft progresses. Okay, what other questions we have here? JT or Henry? I have the 1st pick. Who should I take? I would take Jonathan Taylor. That is my suggestion to you. If you like Henry more, by all means, take Henry. Christian says, okay, so he's adding it. Somebody else, no problem. Will Saquon break me for 3 years straight? I mean, 3 years? A lot of people said that Saquon in 2019 was not good. I mean, he was still a top 10 running back, guys, in fantasy. I don't know what happened. Like, maybe he wasn't as good as where you selected him as, but again, he did miss like 3 games with injury, and then he came back against the Dolphins, if you guys remember, and had a monster game. So, all right, Fendi says, Eckler plus Chase or Eckler plus Kelsey or Kelsey plus Jet. Okay, so you're basically saying which of the okay, so Hmm. If I had to pick right now, oh my gosh. The okay, based on the way that I like to approach my drafts in my leagues, I'm probably going Chase and Eckler. I really like the idea of having Justin Jefferson and Kelsey, but I mean, I don't know what that running back is going to look like for you. So I would just say Chase and Eckler because as of right now, in terms of overall top 12 players, they would be the highest two in comparison. Even though like Justin Jefferson's my fourth and Kelsey's my 12th, Eckler is 5 and Chase is like 7. You know what I mean? So I'd rather just take the middle of the pack and just enroll with Chase and Eckler there. Thank you. All right, a couple donations sent in real quick. We have Kyle saying Justin Jefferson or Christian McCaffrey, 4th pick in a half PPR league. Listen, if you're here's the question, okay? If having Christian McCaffrey on your team is going to make your life worse, in your opinion, right? If the stress of just thinking about him getting hit and him getting potentially injured, and you're worrying about it, if that bothers you and it puts stress on your life, don't pick Christian McCaffrey, right? I personally would go McCaffrey because I look at his upside. I see 24 potential fantasy points per game in a half PPR that he's capable of producing. If he can give me that 14, 13 times, he can win me a league. But again, if he does it 17 times, he's, all-time greatest fantasy point contributor of all, at the running back position, breaks records and all that kind of jazz. But if you're worried about it, ignore him. Go to the next best player, which would be JJ, and I'm perfectly fine with that. But again, if it worries you, don't let it seep into your mind and ruin your fantasy season. We're here to have fun. Keegan says, sorry, correction. 1 keeper, Mixon in the 2nd, ETN in the 16th, James Conner in the 7th. Okay, Brandon Cooks in the 10th. Still missing. So hold on, wait. Am I keeping one of these players? If that's the case, okay. So Mixon or ETN, which one are we keeping? If I can, oh man. If you want to win this year, you keep Mixon. If you're just looking towards the future of just keeping players, you go with ETN. But I think Mixon's the play. You just keep Mixon in the 2nd and then just roll with it there. Any advice on reaching for Allen on the 2-3 turn, drafting a 12-team standard 6-point per passing touchdown league? Yeah, I would say that it's a 6-point per passing touchdown league. I'm perfectly fine taking Josh Allen at 2.01. If I have Taylor as my first overall pick and the draft has come back around to me and I go Taylor, Josh Allen, best available player, I'm fine with that start because it is a 6-point per passing touchdown league. He's thrown 36 each of the last 2 seasons minimum. He's obviously the best quarterback, and it's only just going to elevate his points. Like the difference between Josh Allen in a 6-point per passing touchdown league and I don't know, like the 12th best quarterback on a normal year is, ridiculous points. The averages there are just absurd. I talked about it in my 2 QB strategy video. The drop off there is pretty astounding. 12-team league unknown draft position, 3 wide receivers and 2 running backs start. How do I draft in the first 4 rounds? Listen, dude, if I don't know where you're selecting, me just telling you do this isn't going to be the best overall, way to go about it. Because let's say, for example, I say, hey, start double running back, right? And then all of a sudden in the 2nd round, Travis Kelce's fallen to you and you're thinking, well, I got to go double running back, and you take a lesser player because you were told to do so. You got to play it by best available. So it's kind of hard to say. Obviously I'm looking to, like, if you're sitting in the middle of the round and there's no possibility of Kelce, RB, wide receiver, look for tight end in the 5th. Let's see here. Abdullah says, hey, Andrew, who would you like to go with in the 1.03? 1.03, I'd go Kupp. In a PPR league, I'd go Kupp. I'm perfectly happy there. But that's assuming Taylor and McCaffrey are gone. How dare you smash the like button, you filthy animals. That would be greatly appreciated. All right, how many of you guys are in here? I haven't even looked at, what do we got, like 300 people? Nice, awesome. I want to, first of all, thank you guys for coming out. For those of you who have just recently got here, what we're going to do now is I'm going to transition. I'm going to continue to answer questions in the chat, but I'm going to transition to going ahead and posting a link in the chat. So via Underdog Fantasy, we're going to draft a 12-team league, $3 buy-in. If you have an account there or potentially don't have an account, I'll give you some time here to potentially sign up if you would like. Otherwise, you can watch, and then we're going to draft again after this one. Again, if you guys haven't checked out Underdog Fantasy, there's a link down in the description. Besides the fact that you can go to Underdog, draft in their multitude of best ball leagues, play in their pick'ems, whether it's preseason basketball, football, all this kind of jazz. Before we get into the NFL season, I see it as a pretty good learning curve. Obviously, ADPs are a little bit different at times because people like to draft for best ball in that regard. But as of right now, I mean, if you want to get some experience before your leagues start to kick off, I think it's a great way to go, especially considering we're about to draft together. So again, if you haven't checked them out, you can go ahead, go over to Underdog Fantasy. The link is in the description. When you use promo code Andrew, you make a first-time deposit. You'll get a deposit match up to $100, and I will personally send you at about 2 p.m. today my updated half and full PPR rankings. So again, for those of you who have been asking, Andrew, what do I do in my draft? Those draft rankings can effectively answer those questions. So again, check out Underdog and sign up today. All right. So Kevin Effect says only 72 likes. Come on, guys, hit the effing like button. Listen, as long as we get over 100, I'm happy. I appreciate all that you guys do in terms of supporting the channel. I'm gonna go ahead and create one of these private drafts. I'll share the link in the chat right now, and we'll get it going. So that's in the chat. I'm gonna go ahead and pivot real quick to the screen that is different than this one. One moment. Here we go. So basically just waiting for another 10 teams to fill this league, and then we'll get to drafting. Okay, a couple questions in the chat. So Rocket said Sutton or Pittman. I prefer Pittman going into 2022. Fork Tender Fantasy said, what round should I take Deshaun Watson at QB in a keeper league? I wouldn't take Watson. If he's only playing weeks 11 through 18, or for us specifically 11 through 17, I don't know if he's immediately going to be startable. I haven't checked the Browns schedule. I know they play Houston in week 11, which is great for their running game, but I just don't know if drafting Watson is even strategic in any regard this year. Pittman in the 10th round. What do I look at in the first 2 rounds? You go double running back. Again, okay, what drafting am I? Okay, I'm at 7 here. So basically, okay, so let me try to give you guys as much context as I can. I'm picking 7th here. What do I expect to happen? Taylor, McCaffrey, Kupp, Jefferson. So there's the first 4 picks. Then in a normal league, I expect Henry, Eckler. So that should leave me at the 7th pick in limbo, right? It's either I'm picking Chase or I'm picking a running back. If Chase falls to me, I'm going to draft it just to test. I want to test it out. Let's see how bad or how good drafting a wide receiver in your first could potentially end up being. We'll see. But again, people have got to let me do that for me to do that. But if they want to draft Chase, they could draft Chase. I'm not going to stop them. That's perfectly fine by me. What RBs in the first few rounds are you avoiding this year? What running backs am I avoiding? I don't think I can avoid. I don't think you can afford to avoid running backs. Now, if there are running backs that you're worried about in terms of like, hey, I don't know if that Giants team is going to be good enough for Saquon. I don't know if McCaffrey can stay healthy. If you're worried about scenarios, that's great, and you can avoid the position accordingly or those players accordingly. But I don't think I can avoid anybody. Yeah, I don't think I can. I just got to take the best available player in my mind. Obviously, if I'm avoiding a player, they're lower in my rankings. I've just effectively constructed it as such. Wow, Kupp has made it to the 5th pick. Oh, that's nice. What are we looking at here? So, Kansan Zero says, I'm in a 10-team full PPR league. Should I be considering my team to go RB2? Wait, what? Okay, should I be considered about... Okay, the English here is all chopped up a little bit here. Okay, so best available run. Okay, I'm just going to do the Chase start. Let's see what a Jamar Chase start looks like. Here we go. What is this question? Should I be considered about? I don't even. Okay. QB Hurts, running back mix. Okay, so basically this is the team that you have. QB Hurts, running back Mixon. Jefferson is my wide receiver 1. James Robinson is my RB2. James Robinson cannot be your RB2. He may not even start week 1. AJ Brown, Ertz, Waddle, Mac. Okay, so what has effectively happened here, Kansan Zero, is that you don't have a second running back for week 1. So you need to address that immediately. Kenneth Walker may not be available, and even if he is, he may not be starting. So you have great players in Jefferson, AJ Brown, Davis. Those are awesome, and Waddle. But maybe one of them have to be moved in order to bring in a running back to be your RB2, because James Robinson cannot be your RB2. Let's see here. Scotty Buckets was saying, I'm the 9th pick in a keeper. I kept Swift in the 4th, Chase in the 7th. Both go top 10. Yeah, obviously. Should I take Kelsey? Since I already kept the, yeah, if you want to go Kelsey in the 1st, I'm perfectly fine with that. Or a top 3 wide receiver. If you go top 3 available wide receiver, I don't know who that is. If you want to give me some names and just type it in the chat, I can definitely see that. So yeah. Why does Eckler fall so far? Did Eckler fall? He's number 4. I mean, maybe dude, of course the pick that my bald dome is in the way. Look at where Swift goes, guys. This is what I love to see. If I can get Swift and Barkley in my second rounds, my goodness, man. Like, those are great selections. I mean, like, especially if you play full PPR and you're like, hey, I'm going to take Stephon Diggs because he's going to score 300 points this year. You can get away with a lot. All right, so I started by taking Ja'Marr Chase. I literally have to be comfortable taking Alvin Kamara here. And I am comfortable, so I'll take him. Listen, let's fingers crossed there's no suspension looming. I'm going to leave the board like that. Okay. Kevin, in fact, says, I'm in a 10-team full PPR, 2 wide receiver, 2 running back, 1 flex. Any changes to the draft strategy? Prioritize running back. Yeah, if you're able to get 3 solid running backs within your first 5 rounds, I'm okay with that. Otherwise, you really just need 2, because you can get 2 running backs early on, 2 in your first 3 rounds, and then your flex running back can just be Chase Edmonds, and you can get away with it in a full PPR. What round do I take Pitts in a full PPR? I feel most comfortable taking Kyle Pitts in the 4th. If you can get Kyle Pitts in a 4th round value, I feel very comfortable in that position. I don't know if I'd be willing to go after him in the 3rd. I think there's a lot of other really valuable prospects that I'd just rather have. Chaz says Barkley or Javonte. I prefer Barkley as of right now because I know that there's no Melvin Gordon, breathing down his neck. Scotty says, well, it's Adams or Tyreek at the pick. I'm thinking of starting Kelsey Kamara. Yeah, I like that idea, Scotty. That works. Ryan Johnson says sleepers typically don't reside between rounds 4 through 9. Yeah, sleepers are like 10 plus. Now, they can be slept on, right? They can be undervalued at their ADP, but yeah, I wouldn't consider them sleepers either. I mean, I guess a sleeper by definition in the fantasy context, is a player that is being undervalued and is going to outproduce what they're projected at, right? So it could be in that regard, but yeah, we'll see. Abdullah says, hey, Andrew, would you reach on Lamar at 5.03? I don't think that's a reach. I think that's actually a pretty good spot to take him. I'm fine there. Taking him at that position. What is the earliest you would draft DeAndre Hopkins? Ooh, that's a good question. I think I talked about, okay, am I on the clock almost? All right, let's see what's available. T. Higgins, Keenan Allen, James Conner, Travis Etienne, Breece Hall, and the gang. Okay. So do I go with another wide receiver 1 or do I take my second running back here? Man, I could go either way. I like Keenan Allen, but I honestly think I'd just rather go running back at this point. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to take my James Conner here. And let it ride. Okay, so where are we at? What's your favorite shows from Cartoon Network? Back in the day, what were the best shows? Dexter's Laboratory. What else is another good show? I mean, I don't even remember. I never really liked Ed, Ed and Eddie. Those were kind of weird. What else is another good show? I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I can't. Dexter's Lab is the only one that kind of comes off the dome. The earliest to draft DeAndre Hopkins. Look, so if DeAndre Hopkins misses the first 6 weeks of the season, okay, and then he comes back from weeks 7 through 17, right? They have a bye week in between them, so he only plays 9 games for you. If DeAndre Hopkins within 9 games is going to average 13 fantasy points per game, for example, right? What's the math on that? Let's see here. So we go calculator. We're going to go 13 times 9. That's 117 fantasy points. So effectively, he's only contributing 117 fantasy points to your team. If you're okay with taking him at where 117 fantasy point player would be at, last year, 117 fantasy points and a half PPR at the wide receiver position was, let's see here. What the heck? Can this thing work? Yes, thank you. All right, awesome. So 117 fantasy points and a half PPR last year would value out to wide receiver 47. So the thing is, the reason why DeAndre Hopkins is taken is because people believe that within their first 6 weeks, they can fill the position and be perfectly fine. I am okay taking him in the 7th or 8th. I mean, even then, it's very risky. All right, what are we at here? We have a couple players coming off the board. Michael Thomas, I like that pick. Quarterbacks, Herbert is gone. Any tight ends? Waller's gone. Let me look at the big board, actually. Jerry Jeudy just came off the board. I like that pick. Kyle Pitts in the 4th is a great pick, along with, wow, okay, I like that back end of the 1st. I mean, obviously the running back so far, but not bad. All right, so if I'm taking a wide receiver here, it's Waddle or Marquise Brown. Do I really? Okay, I'm going to do something a little spicy here. Yeah, let me look at, no, I'm just going to go Marquise Brown. I don't want to have 2 Arizona Cardinals, but I kind of have to at this point. Jacob sent in a donation, said I ended up doing 1st overall, 25th overall, and a 12th rounder for 5th overall, 20th overall, and 50th. Okay. If that's what you ended up doing, let's hope it, pans out for the best. Are you good at bowling? No. I went bowling maybe like 2 months ago. Awful. Terrible. That was the first time I bowled since I was maybe like 12, like 6th grade. So it had been like 15 years. It had been, no, it wasn't even 12. It was maybe like 11 or 10. It had been like 17 years since I bowled, and I was awful. Now, you get me on a basketball court, don't get it twisted. I'm a high school basketball player. I know what I'm doing. I can, I'll show you a couple moves here and there. I'm not the fastest on the court, but hey, I'll make some plays out there. Aaron Jones or Alvin Kamara, says Franco. Again, if you're worried about the suspension, avoid Kamara like the plague. Otherwise, I like him. I think he's going to score more if he stays and he plays all 16 games for us. Like Sky Moore or Romeo Dubs. Oh, okay, that's what you're talking about. Never mind. You were referring to somebody else. Armando says 1.08. Who you like most? Cook, Najee, Mixon, or okay, it would be Najee, Mixon, Cook, Swift, Barkley, probably in that kind of an order. Where are we at in this draft? I think I know what I've pretty much pinched myself into. This is why, like, I don't mind starting wide receiver. I just look at, like, going Jamar Chase first, and I'm thinking to myself, man, I've pinched myself in a position. Wait, Lamar in the 4th. Wow, okay. I mean, bold. I mean, he's stacking Mark Andrews, Lamar, so, it is what it is. I look at my team and I think to myself, is starting wide receiver really the play in this regard? But hey, we're going to see how this roster kind of constructs itself out. Maybe it'll give you more context as to whether or not you want to run in this direction or avoid it. That's the whole point. Why is Hall and ETN rated so high? Opportunity. Again, the greatest possible contributor to scoring more fantasy points is touching the ball more, right? So if you're going to be the starting running back of any team in the league and you're going to be given 250 touches in a given year, you should be treated as such and drafted as such, which again is pretty good value. Dobbins is available. Montgomery's available. Okay. Mahomes available. Let me look at this draft board real quick. Okay, cool. So at this point, I think I'm willing to go ahead and just take my Kittle and just let it ride. And then we'll see what we get next round. So far, I went wide receiver, RB, wide receiver, tight end. The following round is just going to be a matter of what is best available. I'm very comfortable taking either Waller, Kittle, or Schultz in the 5th. Obviously, Schultz is disrespected at points because he hasn't been as good as the other two for a longer period of time, so people don't really value him as high. I value him just as high, if not higher. So, at least higher than Waller, not as high as Kittle. So at this point, I'm at a position where I'm thinking, if I can get a 5th round tight end, great. If I can't, then I would wait and I'd grab Schultz later instead of going after Waller. Is it crazy to draft Javonte over Swift? I would say yes, but hey, you never know. It may pan out. What value for Jalen Hurts? I think Jalen Hurts right now on my draft board is my number 6 quarterback. So at that position, I think I'm pretty comfortable grabbing the guy and just letting it ride. If you're able to get him if Jalen Hurts is a 6th round pick, I'm comfortable there. If he's a late 5th, I'm okay there as well. But outside of that, I mean, I don't know if I'm taking any other quarterbacks besides, I mean, I guess if Burrow's available before him, I don't mind taking that earlier, stuff like that. Saquon or Fournette or Chubb? I haven't ordered Saquon, Fournette, Chubb in that exact order as of my last rankings video. Which team is going to be the next breakout offense? Breakout offense, huh? I don't know. Who was the breakout offense last year? Because when you say breakout offense, it makes me think like they weren't good in the past. Because like I can objectively say that the Minnesota Vikings are going to be a top tier offensive team. They're going to probably finish in top 10 in every category. That's my opinion. We'll have to wait and see what comes of it. But there goes Jalen Hurts. Obviously, that's a pretty solid selection there. Did Waller get taken yet? Because if Waller isn't gone, Waller did get taken. I don't mind Schultz in the 6th. Again, he doesn't have a tight end yet, so he could certainly address that positional need. Or he can continue to just stack up and rock with, studs. All right, so based on what's available, I'm just going to take Kyler. I've already taken 2 other Arizona guys. I'm just fully stacked in on Arizona Cardinals. I'm fully in on it. At this point, I just have to commit. How much do you worry about having players on the same bye week at the same position? As long as it's not quarterback or tight end, I'm okay. Let's see here. Most likely injury in the 1st round? You're asking most likely to be injured? No clue. I mean, obviously there's injury history, but I have no clue. I mean, yeah, there's no way of predicting that. But yeah, in terms of having, like, let's say, for example, my 2 1st round picks, my 1st and 2nd round pick, they have the same bye week. Not worried about it. Doesn't make a difference to me. Because everyone's going to eventually have to face a bye week. Why would I sacrifice potential fantasy points for my full season because 1 week is going to be kind of, thrown to the gutter? You never know. You may play against a team that has a bye apocalypse in that given week and you win anyway. Vikings loaded on offense. Yeah, I think Vikings win the division. I don't think a lot of people are talking about it. I know the Green Bay Packers are a good defense and they're a good team, but I legitimately think if the Packers have any struggles this year, the Vikings should win that division. How do you feel about Trey Lance? Trey Lance is probably my favorite late round quarterback to grab. And what I mean by late round is, let's see, what's available in this draft left. Burrow should go. Brady should go. And then Lance is already gone. Wow. Where did Lance go? Oh, Lance is already gone. Yeah, no, Lance is a good pick. I mean, at this point, I'd rather get him in my 7th or 8th. I think 6th may be a little bit too expensive considering I don't know what he's going to be able to accomplish in the passing game. But truth be told, he could very easily be capable of being just as good as Jalen Hurts and be a top 6 quarterback this year because of the offense's pieces that are working around him. Mixon Barkley or Mixon Kamara? Listen, If Kamara's healthy and active and not suspended, I'd rather have him over Barkley. But I don't know that for a certain, like, there's no guarantee of that. Third overall pick in a 10-team full PPR. Do I go Eckler or Jefferson? I go Jefferson there, Abdullah. Marsh Murray says, Will Fuller worth drafting? No. The reason why I say that is because I think he had been quoted to have said like a couple weeks ago that, hey, yeah, I'm gonna think about where I want to go before I pick. Like, bruh, if you haven't picked, or I'm on the clock already. Huh? Okay. If you haven't picked and figured out where you want to go, like you're already kind of throwing and selling a little bit. So, in my opinion, I'm looking at the situation that is revolving around Will Fuller and thinking to myself, injury history, hasn't been signed yet, didn't do anything for the Dolphins last year. The best career season that he's ever had. He was on steroids, and that's why he was able to stay out there for as long as he was. But honestly, in all reality, I don't want to draft a player that's not on a team. Because even if he gets signed to like Green Bay, I'm using a roster spot that I could potentially put a handcuff in for the next couple weeks and get away with it. Now, if you're playing in a super deep league, I'm okay with that. Vikings will be 13-4. That's a little much. That's whew. Elver says Vikings aren't even beating the Bears. Bro, the Bears are going to beat themselves this year. What are you talking about? The Bears can't even block offensive line-wise, man. They can't even pass block. Yo, I'm telling you, man, that Bears offensive line is awful. David Knight asks, Judy or Sutton? I would play Sutton. I would rather have Sutton this year. I think he has more upside because of the touchdown potential. Otherwise, both in my rankings currently are top 24. Who wins in this trade? Najee Harris, CeeDee Lamb for Cook and Diggs? I think it's relatively even. If I had to choose one, it would probably be Cook and Diggs. Because I know that Cook and Diggs are both capable of being top 3 at their position. I've yet to see Najee Harris and CeeDee Lamb do that. Do they have the potential? Absolutely. But have they done it? Nope. What do we have? Okay. We'll take Kadarius Toney, let it roll. So what have I even constructed here? My roster as of right now consists of Kamara, James Conner, Chase Edmonds as my running backs. Jamar Chase, Marquise Brown, Kadarius Toney as my running wide receivers. I got Kittle at tight end. I got Murray at quarterback. All right. I mean, starting Chase wasn't terrible. I mean, I still think this is I can get away with this kind of a team going forward. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on it. What is in this chat? What are we looking at? Thoughts on Kirk Cousins? I think I had a video the other day regarding late round draft targets. He could very easily be a top 6 quarterback this year. And I don't even say that in hyperbole. I don't say that just a meme. Like, it legitimately, he could very easily accomplish that. The reason why I say it is because in that video that I posted the other day that has David Njoku on the thumbnail, I mentioned that in the last 2 years, quarterbacks who have been able to achieve top 6 standings at their position in a 4-point per passing touchdown league have been Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, and Tom Brady. Brady and Rodgers have both accomplished that twice each of the last 2 years. Matthew Stafford only this last season. But what they all had in common was at a minimum, they threw for over 4,100 passing yards, and they all had 40 total scoring touchdowns. Not passing, but total scoring touchdowns. So if we're able to at least see Kirk Cousins take a step up from his yearly averages, where in each of the last 2 years, he's had, 30, what's the numbers? I think it's like 4,200 passing yards minimum and 33 touchdowns. Each of the last 2 years, that's his minimum numbers. If he's able to elevate in any regard, maybe get to 4,600 passing yards, 38 touchdowns, 38 touchdowns, almost that 40 range, very easily could be a top 6 quarterback this season. Obviously, it's going to be tough to compete with those rushing guys, but like Lance, Hurts, players of that caliber. But ultimately, am I almost on the clock again? Damn, dude, this is going fast. You guys are quick with it, man. You're not giving me any time. I'm answering a question. I got to pick immediately after. Holy moly. Of the available, yeah, just give me Kenneth Walker. I'd rather go for that investment going forward. Thoughts on Gordon? Rule is he's my third RB. Okay, yeah, I mean, as a third RB, I'm okay having him there. he could be a little bit riskier than in years past because from his own mouth, he said, and I quote, they want Javonte to be the guy. So if we're going to take that quite literally, that means Melvin Gordon's not going to be the 10-point player that he was last year. He's certainly going to get himself probably close to 10 touches a game, hopefully. If not, then he's not even worth where he's going at this point, which would kind of be sad. David says, what's up, Andrew? Can you take a look at the 11th pick and give your thoughts? Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. So 11th pick overall would be Joe Mixon, Travis Kelce. I like that start. You get ETN in the third. 2 running backs in the first 3 rounds. Looking great. Allen Robinson, he's my number 15 wide receiver. I would have used a 3rd round pick on him, but you get him in the 4th, which is great value. Patrick Mahomes in the 5th is perfectly where he should go. Adam Thielen in the 6th, absolute touchdown machine, 24 touchdowns in the last 26 games. He's just got to stay healthy. That's the hope. Would I have considered taking Montgomery here? Potentially, but again, I know the Bears offense as a whole is really risky at this point. So any investment in there could be considered a little bit thing. And you needed to address your secondary wide receiver position, so we're fine there. Hunter Renfrow the following round ahead of Devonta Smith. That's fine. Ahead of Kadarius Toney. That's fine. Yep, I'm okay with Renfrow there. Devin Singletary is a starting running back as of right now, so that's a good pick. You end up getting Rodgers at 107. I don't know if that was an auto draft or you're just playing the best ball game. If you're playing the best ball game, that's fine. I mean, when I typically grab a stud quarterback, I'm thinking I don't really need to go after another quarterback too early in a regular league. But if you're just playing the best ball game, you're fine there. And then at that point, Julio in the next round, I mean, that's ultimate upside. So I mean, I'm great here. Obviously, Hunter Renfrow is like your he's your quote unquote weakest player. But again, like I mentioned, when we're talking about wide receiver 3s, especially even in a best ball, they don't have to start every week. These are guys that can be rotated out every single week because you're just going after the best overall performance. So it doesn't matter who you have a wide receiver 3, even in a regular league. Guys, what I do with my wide receiver 3 is I literally will grab a player and then I'm hitting the waiver wire the week after. Then I'm playing matchups the week after and I'm just rotating that wide receiver 3 because really they're not stable parts of your lineup. They should always be on a rotational kind of revolving door in terms of a contributing factor on your team. Let's see here. Ty Montgomery is going to be the thing in New England. Definitely taking him in a PPR. That would be interesting to see. Roth, am I on the clock again? Jiminy Christmas, guys. Like, what's going on? Chase Claypool still available? I think I'm going to go for that. Henderson's still there? Yeah, I think I'm going Claypool here. I like the potential upside there. Get another wide receiver going. What do we have? Okay. Sam Crow Andre says, rate my team. I have Burrow, Najee Harris, Fournette, Swift, CeeDee Lamb, Cortland Sutton. And then we have Michael Thomas. Wow. You have... How many teams are in this league, Andre? Like, that's what I'm thinking to myself. You have 3 top 12 running backs. You have a top 12 wide receiver. You have 2 more wide receivers that are both top 24 in my eyes. Actually, top 20 in my eyes. And then you got my top 5 quarterback, which is Burrow. Burrow's my number 5 right now. So, thumbs up. Where's your tight end, though? That's my question at this point. I'm okay if you punted at tight end. But as a team overall, based on how many, I mean, I'm assuming there weren't many teams in your league, therefore you were able to acquire that many. So every team's probably an all-star squad, but I like the team overall. I mean, a lot of PPR upside there for sure. JJ and Saquon or Christian McCaffrey and Keenan Allen? I'd rather have JJ and Saquon. Who do you think is this year's dark horse team to like win games, like outright? Okay, I think that's a pretty valid question. Let's think here. Who's a potential dark horse to like make the playoffs? I mean, because like when I think about dark horse, right? I'm thinking, hey, who can potentially win the championship? Who can win it all? Who isn't really being counted in that category, right? I would think to myself, there's a very good chance that the Chargers and the Eagles can win a Super Bowl this year. Are they going to? Time will tell. But I think they're both good options. They could very easily do it. Otherwise, I'm not even kidding. I do like the Vikings a lot. Who's another low-key team that could end up making a lot of noise? Miami is yet to be seen. We'll see what Miami looks like. Obviously, we'll know week 1 because they play New England. I know Tua is undefeated against New England in his career. So we're going to have a fun one there in week 1. But, you know, maybe Miami wants to show up and make an AFC run there. I mean, again, the AFC is already so stacked. Let me think. Baltimore, we know, is going to make the playoffs as long as they stay healthy as they were last year. So Baltimore and Cincinnati will be both, I mean, dude, I could, oh man, that AFC side of the bracket, I don't even want to mess with it because legitimately that AFC West with the Chargers, Raiders, I'm on the clock. Michael Gallup's available. I don't mind taking a pick there at Michael Gallup and just letting it ride and see what happens. Yeah, I don't really need it. Jahan Dotson, Kobe Myers. I like the Myers pick, but again, at this point, I'm just going for like the best ball kind of approach at the end of these rounds. Yeah, I'm thinking to myself, dude, every single one of those teams can make the playoffs. I can imagine. I mean, if only, oh man, if Denver Broncos are going to be a good team, so are the Chargers, so are the Raiders, so are the Chiefs. The Chiefs have won their division and done it in a pretty solid fashion for like the last 4 consecutive years now. So it's tough to overthrow the king there. All right, Logan says Diggs is my keeper. Should the strategy be 2 running backs or Diggs / Allen stack? Ooh, okay. It depends. Okay, so if you're keeping Diggs, if you're able to get 2 top 12 running backs, I would opt for that, and I wouldn't worry about getting Josh Allen. If you're not able to do so, and you're like, all right, the next best available running back is Zeke, and I don't really want him, then you can go with Allen, right? But otherwise, I think if you can prioritize 2 top 12 running backs, in your 2 rounds after keeping Diggs, I think you're in the best position to succeed. What round do you think Juju is worth? I don't know. Let's see where he went here because I currently have him, if I'm not mistaken, slightly outside of my top 25. Juju went in the 5th round here, right? Which would have been effectively, what is that? 5, 7, 8, 11, 14, 16, 19, 23. So he went he went 25th. He's the 25th wide receiver off this board. That seems about right. So in that round where he's going in the 5th, seems about right. I'm on the clock again. You guys are absolute machines. Just going quickly with it. Do I need another wide receiver? At this point, if I'm just building a roster that is purely just upside, I'll come for tight end later. Let's go ahead. Let's just go grab a I don't even need to worry about quarterback. Okay, so we're in a position here where we can just kind of take our sweet time. Let's go grab Jakobi Meyers and just kind of settle more wide receivers in, and then I'll grab tight end and quarterback later. Okay, where are we at here? Chiefs have won their division more than 4 years in a row. Thank you, Triangle. Appreciate that. Good stat. How long are you streaming for, Andrew? I probably will go for the next 45 minutes. What I probably will do, actually, in fact, is I will open up another tab and I will start another draft for us because, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do so that we can get more people drafting. So at this point, let me go ahead. Let me set up another draft. I'll drop it in the chat, and we can get into that immediately as we can. So let's go ahead. I'll share the link in the chat right now. Again, if you guys haven't checked out Underdog Fantasy, be sure to do so today. If you go down to the description, use promo code Andrew, sign up via Underdog Fantasy. Of course, they got a bunch of best ball drafts. They got the drafts that I'm going to be participating with you guys for the next couple weeks here prior to the season starting. When you sign up using the code, making a first-time deposit will get you a deposit match up to $100. So if you deposit 20, you'll get 20 and start off with $40. You'll also get my 2022 fantasy football draft rankings as of I think today. If you've signed up, prior to today, you've already gotten those rankings. Or if you signed up last night, the rankings are coming later this afternoon. But if you sign up at 2 p.m. today, I'm sending out another wave of emails in terms of my draft rankings by positional tier: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, kicker, defense, my top 200 flex. Those rankings will be updated weekly and sent to you subsequently every Saturday prior to the season starting up until September 3rd. So if you're interested, check that out. Check out the link. Use promo code Andrew. Thank you very much. All right, so I sent the link there. I'm going to make sure, okay, I'm 4 picks away, so I'm not in a terrible position. Let's see here. Colts, the Colts should, here's the thing. I already assumed, Smoke and Joe, that the Colts were going to win the division. That's why I didn't even mention them. I already assumed they were going to win the division based on the fact that they have Matt Ryan. So we'll see. How do you feel about taking top-tier running back, wide receiver, and tight end in the first 2 rounds? I'm assuming Eric Johnson, you meant first 3 rounds because there's 3 picks there. I'm okay with that. If I can start off by going like back end of the first, I take top tier running back, then I get Kelsey, and then in my 3rd round pick, I get, I don't know. If I can get Mike Williams in my 3rd round, I'm perfectly fine there. Now, if you want to do it differently and you want to go like, I'm going to take 1st round running back, 2nd round get CeeDee Lamb, 3rd round go Kyle Pitts, I'm okay with that as well. Oh, I'm on the clock. Damn. Okay. 16 seconds. Hold up. I'm trying to get there, boys. Where is David Njoku? Thank you very much. Join the squad. Okay. Moving on. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to transfer over real quick. Let's go back to the screen cap. I'm crazy to be high on Christian Kirk. No, I think I'm too low on Christian Kirk, actually. I think I'm going to be a little bit higher on him as the weeks progress. He's been injured the last couple weeks, so we haven't seen him in preseason. Yesterday, we did see him. He was getting good utilization, playing, majority of the snaps with the first team offense, and looks like could be something that we might want to be investing in. Let me go to my other draft. We'll switch over when we get there. Jared says, yo, how's it going, Jared? Welcome. So as of right now, we're filling our 2nd draft via Underdog and just drafting against one another, having fun there. Clarence O says, can't wait for those rankings for sure. Will be sent. So basically, I plan on streaming for like the next 40 minutes until about 2 p.m. my time. Hopefully we can get more questions answered, more, and get this draft done, this upcoming one. I think we have 3 spots remaining here to fill. After we've done that, I'll probably just end stream. I'll go send out those emails via the rankings for those of you who've signed up in the last 24 hours. And then I got to start preparing for tomorrow's video and then the week ahead of us. Again, that's the running back strength of schedule on Tuesday, wide receiver strength of schedule on Wednesday. A lot of fun to be had early in the week. And then the rest of the week we have planned, but we'll announce it as we get there. Any tips at the 1.01 in a 12-team league and a half PPR scoring format? Yeah, you take Taylor number 1, Massimo. You take Taylor number 1. You come back in the 2nd round. You get another running back and a wide receiver. Then you go into the 4th and 5th round, and on that turn you take a wide receiver, and then it depends. You don't have to take a wide receiver there. You could go tight end quarterback. So you could start off like Taylor, Chubb, Pittman, and then in your next round go like Kittle, Mahomes, and then in the 6th round address wide receiver. For example, in this league, 6th round wide receivers consisted of the availables would have been Brandon Ayuk, Drake London, Christian Kirk, Amari Cooper, DeAndre Hopkins, Hunter Renfrow. I mean, again, as a wide receiver too, those are guys that I don't really, I'm not too excited about. But I need a 2nd quarterback in this league. What have I done? Trevor Lawrence, welcome to the squad, my guy. We need one more person for this final spot of this league here. All right, let me get back into this chat. What do we got? You can't hang. Send in a donation. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Rate my team. Drafting. Okay. TJ Wall. Okay, cool. Let me go ahead and check that out right now. So if we go to the draft board and we look for, where is Walters? All right, Derrick Henry, Leonard Fournette. I like to start T. Higgins. You got him pretty late. I don't know how you're able to get him that late. T. Higgins should be going where A.J. Brown and Tyreek Hill went, but that's just my opinion. Doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean it's wrong. DK Metcalf in the 4th. I mean, right now, I think what are we looking at? Jalen Waddle. Yeah, I mean, I think the value's right. Let's just hope he produces as we expect. Rashad Bateman in the filling in your 3rd run. Okay, then you get Schultz, you get Dak, you get the quarterback pair there. You go and you get Kareem. I mean, listen, these are kind of drafts that I like. I like these kind of rosters constructed, right? In the idea where you're able to. Am I in the way? I am in the way. Dang it, guys. Someone should have told me. I like the idea of going 2 running backs early, so that I can avoid the running backs here, right? I can avoid the potential pitfalls of running backs from rounds 3 through 7. I avoid all that. I come back, grab running backs 8th, 9th because they're being undervalued for no absolute reason. Henderson's a nice little sneaky grab there. Albert Okwuegbunam, again, I'm not too high on, but ultimately the way that you constructed your roster and the players that you have, I'm perfectly fine with. Okay, let's see here. Trying to answer questions. I just don't have the confidence in Field as a passer. I don't care about him as a passer. I care about his offensive line. I think these players are extremely talented. I just don't think that the players that are around them help serve their best interests. You know what I mean? Like Ryan Pace, I think that's the name of the GM for the Bears. I don't think he's done a great job in terms of what he's done this offseason. We'll have to wait and see. One more person to get this underdog draft. Yeah, I agree, Andrew. We just need one more. Again, for those of you interested, I'll go ahead and once again drop the link in the chat. It's a $3 entry. We need one more spot here to fill it and get us going. If you've already signed up or haven't yet, you can go today, click the link down in the description, sign up with promo code Andrew, make a first-time deposit, get a $100 first deposit match. You drop 30, you'll get 30. You drop 20, you get 20. You know, it's pretty much an identical match up to $100, and then you'll get my rankings later this afternoon. What do we have here? Rate team 10. Okay, let's see here, Running Bear. What do we have here? So we have team 10. We have Najee Saquon, perfectly fine there. Cortland Sutton in the third is a good pick. Terry McLaurin. Listen, I like Terry McLaurin, but I don't like Carson Wentz. But then again, Carson Wentz was able to still make Michael Pittman like a top 15 wide receiver. So I think he'll be okay. Darren Waller's a good pick there in the fifth. I'm fine with that. Montgomery is perfectly fine there. Hopkins could be rich for my blood. Am I on the clock? Dang it. Okay, wait a minute. Hold up. Do we need running back depth? Yeah, let's grab some running back depth. So let's go ahead. Let's grab Tyrion Davis-Price just in case we see, you know what it is? It is funny that the San Francisco backfield always gets injured. Somehow, some way, they find themselves, okay, this draft started, I got the third pick. Finally, I get a top pick. If you guys haven't noticed, I think I've mentioned this in the past. I really like a top 5 pick this year. If I'm able to get a top 5 or 6 pick in 2022, I'm pretty happy in a regular standard league. Do you have to deposit on Underdog to get the email list, or just use the code? You would have to make a first-time deposit using code Andrew, J_. Let's see here. PD sent in a donation, said greetings from Montreal. All right, our Canadian brothers over here, brothers and sisters. We have half PPR team, 10-team league. Okay. Any doubts on those bubble players? Lance, Stafford, Rodgers, Prescott, Hawkinson, Kmet, Ertz. Any doubts? No. Okay, so here's my thing. I have no doubt that Lance. Oh, I'm on the clock already. Jiminy Christmas. We have McCaffrey went first. Okay, so just so I can help y'all out. Y'all were like, all right, Andrew, does it matter? Should I take Kupp? Should I take Jefferson? Again, I don't care. I will take either of them. Whatever is available. It doesn't make a difference to me. So let's start Jefferson. This is going to be the second draft in a row where I'm starting wide receiver today. Is it going to pan out for Andrew? We're going to see. We're going to put it to the test. I don't prefer it, but we're going to see. At this point, I still think that, in a half PPR, I'd typically go Derrick Henry there. But let's see how a wide receiver would look. Asking you about the team you posted. Okay, running back. I'll check that out in a second. Is reaching for Zeke at pick 32 crazy? No, I don't think so. I think he's perfectly fine at that value. Let's see here. Is Jamar Chase overhyped? Not if he ends up playing as well as he did last year and just continues to get better. Okay, so PD, to answer your question specifically, I'm 100% confident in Lance, Stafford getting their job done. Prescott, again, has less weapons than he did last year. Could be a little bit of a dip. I don't trust Rodgers. In fact, I have Rodgers ranked lower than I've ever had him in my entire fantasy football escapades. So as of late, I don't know what to do with Rodgers. I just have him so low ranked that maybe I'm avoiding him. As for Hawkinson, Kmet, Ertz, and Freiermuth, I am perfectly fine with all of them at a right value, right? Like, I don't want to draft these players anywhere near my top 8 picks. If I'm going to draft a tight end and I've avoided my potential top 6 guys, I'm just going to, because I really do think from Hawkinson to Goddard, Ertz, who else is it? Knox. From that range, those guys are all similarly ranked. So I'm not like banging the table hard to I need to get Goddard. He needs to be that next selection. I'm okay with any of them as long as I get it at the best value. All right, what is going on in this draft board here? So we've got ourselves 2, 4, 6, 7 running backs in the first round. 9 running backs so far. There's 10. Again, this is usually why you take running back early, because once they're gone, they're gone. But we'll go ahead and demonstrate that as we continue. So let me see Running Bear's team that he posted in this chat. Where the heck is Running Bear? No, not that. Let's see here, Running Bear. F3 function, Running Bear. What kind of posts where are we at? I got Eckler, Herbert, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams on the same team. Is it too much in a stacking sense? Yeah, I mean, man, if they're the best player at each position, it's fine. But like, man, you're full in on the team. Like, for example, okay, theoretically, the reason why you would avoid that, I know you have another team there that I'm going to talk about running back, but the reason why you would want to avoid doing that is, let's say, for example, God forbid something happens to Justin Herbert. All those other pieces fall into a blender and your season's over. You know, that's the only argument as to why you wouldn't approach a draft with that kind of. Did I just get Mark Andrews in the back end of the? Should I do it? Should I do the 0 running back start? I'm gonna take Mark Andrews. Let's see what this team looks like. I'm actually curious now. All right, so let me see what Running Bear's other post was. Okay, so this was the team. It's the Superflex team. Rodgers, Stafford, Taylor, Eckler, Higgins, Metcalf. Bro, I mean, I have no complaints there. The fact that you waited on quarterback, were able to get 2 stud, top 4 running backs, it just seems like you won the draft outright. You still got Kittle out of it. You got wide receivers that I like. I understand I have Rodgers a little bit lower ranked, but at this point, based on what you were able to do with the rest of your team, you're in a pretty good spot there. Okay, what happened here? I took Andrews. I don't know if that's going to be biting me in the buns here, but we'll see. Okay, so what running backs are available? James Conner, Travis Etienne, Zeke. All right. I've already come too far. Like, I'm at the point of no return. I'm just, let's see what I can do here, guys. I'm going to just build a team with no running back. Let's see if it works. Hey, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, at least we'll know never to do it. So Smokey the Cat says 12-man hero RB question mark, double RB or triple RB. Again, what is this? Autopilot? Why the heck would I be on? Oh, it's the other draft. Yeah. I haven't even looked at that draft for a while. Let that one go. That one's gone. It's in the autopilot now. I haven't even looked at that one. Sorry, guys, if you guys are still drafting there. Smokey, I don't think it's as objective as like, hey, you have to do this or you have to do that. I think each pick kind of you have an idea as to what you can build. If you're more comfortable with the teams that you've constructed running a hero RB build, then go for it. Otherwise, I prefer double RB in most circumstances. Obviously, today I've kind of gone off the wagon and I've went, as you can see on screen, Jefferson, Andrews, Pittman, which interesting, may not work for me, but hey, listen, we're trying it. Armin, John, how are you doing? 10-team full PPR, drafting 6th overall. 2 flex, and I know my league reaches for running back. Would you rather go Justin Jefferson / Cooper Kupp and Saquon / Jones, or RB / wide receiver and Diggs? Wait, would you rather go one of those and one of those, or RB wide receiver with Diggs and CeeDee Lamb? I would rather wait. I mean, you gotta clarify this. If you're drafting 6th overall, okay, and you're assuming that the first 4 picks are going to be running backs, right? Yes, I would take one of those wide receivers. And then whatever running back I get in the 2nd round, that's what I would go with. Let's see here. What are your preferred drafting positions? Which draft numbers have traditionally fared well? I mean, I think every year it depends. Obviously, last year, like a top 4 pick was a disaster because of the injuries that were sustained there, and picks in the back into the 1st round, like the Taylors, Ecklers, Mixons, those, and Najee Harris, those guys all panned out. So, I mean, year to year it changes, right? It is purely dependent on injuries that kind of impact teams. Obviously, I can tell you that when I start with Taylor, I feel far more comfortable than any other first round pick, but doesn't really mean much because you can really only get Taylor at 1 or 2 spots, assuming somebody's crazy enough, like in this league, to go McCaffrey. All right, so what is going on in this draft? Obviously, top 16, running backs are gone. I've pretty much pinched myself in a position. Najee or Derrick Henry? I'd rather have Derrick Henry this year. Who should number 3 overall pick be in a PPR? One of the 2 wide receivers, Kupp or Jefferson. What do we got? What are the questions? Josh Green says, in a 10-team standard league, would it be a bad idea to start 3 running backs? In a standard league, I'd say no. I'm okay there as long as, I'm okay there with 3 running backs. How do you feel about this pick 7? You think I should trade back? I'm okay with pick 7. I mean, you may have to I don't think it's a reach. Okay, what am I doing here? Is it my turn here? I mean, looking at the available running backs, bro, I mean, I've pretty much thrown my draft to an extent, right? It's very interesting how running back disappears. Now, this is why I talk about taking 2 running backs in your first 3 picks, guys, right? I'm going to just take a wide receiver. Specifically, of the available, I think Deontay's probably the play. So we'll just take a Deontay and we'll let it slide. We'll see what happens. What do we got here? How would you build your team if you were drafting first overall? First 3 picks, 2 running backs and a wide receiver. 4th/5th rounds, most likely wide receiver, tight end. 7th round quarterback. And then after that, I'm just building depth at running back, wide receiver, subsequently after one another. Dynasty, pick Sutton or Hall. I'd rather play with Hall rest of the way. Running backs are more valuable in the long. I mean, I know they don't last as long in terms of like longevity of career, but I'd rather have Hall if it's comparative to Sutton. Let's see here. Warren Buffett's burner account says Russell Wilson, Stafford, Breece Hall, Montgomery, Kupp. Okay. Montgomery, Kupp, Higgins, Kelsey. Pretty good looking team. I mean, what am I at here? All right. I need to eventually draft the running back. So I'm just going to take my Montgomery because you can only have so many wide receivers on your damn team until you're kind of overcumbered. But again, I've pretty much dumped, like, if you've ever played, any RPG game, I literally avoided my strength stat and I went full into dexterity and in constitution, and I'm just going to hope that those numbers calculate correctly. Again, this is exactly the reason, guys. This team that I put together, right? You need to have 3 running backs in your first 2 picks, right? So even if I went, like, if I go Chubb here and I go Ezekiel Elliott here, right? And I avoid these 2, at least in some way, maybe this team ends up playing better than a Nick Chubb and Ezekiel Elliott team. Maybe it does. But at this point, I'm thinking to myself, dude, if Montgomery's got to be my stud every week, he better be firing on all cylinders, and he better be that top 17 back I think he is. Otherwise, we're in trouble, kind of thing, Do you like CeeDee Lamb, Higgins, Mike Williams for your top 3 wide receivers? Yeah, I would love that. They're all in my top 12 right now. Do you think Juju, Michael Thomas, Allen Robinson are good enough to support 3 RBs and a tight end strat? Yes, I think they are. I think they're far better than just enough. Those are 3 top 24 guys in my eyes. So yeah, you'd be in a good spot there. Pick 1, Henry in my league. What falls to me at 4? Henry in my league. What fall? Okay, I don't understand. Ryan, you gotta rephrase your question. Pick 1 is Henry in my league. What falls to me at 4? Is this a riddle? Like, is this the Riddler? Like, what is going on here? Like, do you mean like, I don't know what your league's gonna pick, but my assumption would be Taylor, McCaffrey, maybe one of the wide receivers, maybe Henry goes 1.03. But I don't understand. Maybe it's like a riddle or something like that. Andrew, you're boldly crazy passing on Dobbins and Mitchell. I don't think I'm crazy passing on them. I think I know the inherent risk of their offenses. I fully am aware of how valuable Dobbins can be, but I'm fully aware of the ACL as well. Um, let's see here. And Mitchell, the issue that I have with Mitchell is that the quarterback rushing attempts, the quarterback rushing threat in the red zone, and the fact that the 49ers, I mean, dude, there's something in the water over there. Every year, whoever the starting running back is somehow finds themselves injured for a couple weeks and in a blender. Hopefully, it's not going to be the case, because if Mitchell is given 18 plus touches like he was last year on a full consecutive 18-week season or 16-week season, for us, we're going to be in a good spot. But again, there's so much inherent risk there with a running back by committee scenario being popped into place, Debo getting more, red zone rushing attempts, Lance stealing some touchdowns with his legs and rushing ability. It's tough. It's a little bit more of a trickier situation than it was last year with an immobile quarterback like Jimmy G. Do you think Gabriel Davis is too high to be drafted in the 4th? Yes and no at the same time. I'm okay with him in the 4th, but I mean, it's risky. It's risky. I'm okay with it, but it's risky. Like, if it's my choice, I've got to be really comfortable with the idea that he's got to be a top 24 guy. Like, he's got to be top 20 if he's being picked in the 4th round. He's got to be better than where I'm selecting him. And I don't know if he can technically do that off rip this year. What's the best available running backs at this point? I mean, it's nothing really much, I guess. Lance is still on the board. Let's see what's going on here. Okay. Okay. What kind of tight ends we got here? All right. So what kind of quarterbacks we have here? All right. I'm perfectly fine doing that then. So I'm going to take my Jacobs as my second running back, and then we'll go ahead and we'll address future picks. Max Kessler says Hurts, Eckler, Fournette, Lamb, Mike Evans, Mike Williams, Kelsey, 18 league. Listen, you have an all-star team. There's no faults in that team in any regard. You have a monster squad there. Mike Davis, sneaky running back. I mean, I don't trust Mike Davis as far as I can throw him, and I think he's weighing like 260 nowadays, so that's going to be tough. So, yeah. Ryan, now I understand your question. First team in your league is going to take Derrick Henry. He's a super fan. Awesome. He will be the first pick. Totally get it. I was wondering what I would get as wide. Okay, yeah. So if Henry goes number 1, Taylor second, McCaffrey third, you're probably sitting there drafting either Jefferson, Kupp, or Eckler. It's totally up to you. I would assume that in a half PPR, those wide receivers could very easily outscore Eckler, especially if Eckler sees a little bit of touchdown regression this year, which he should to an extent. Oh, I'm on the clock again. Okay, so as I was anticipating, I wanted to get a quarterback, and I got at least one of them that I wanted, so I'll take Mr. Lance, and I'll keep it moving. What the heck did I even build here? So I started going Jefferson, Andrews, Pittman, Deontay, into Montgomery, Jacobs, into Lance. It's a very interesting approach. How effective it is going to be, I'll let y'all know at the end of the season. I think I can already tell you I'm nervous about this team, because this is my problem, right? I've always talked about avoiding drafting running backs between rounds 3 is fine. 4 through 7 is a nightmare at running back. These guys could very easily kill your team. Could very easily. Breece Hall could split carries with Michael Carter. We wouldn't be surprised. Cam Akers could split carries with Darrell Henderson. We wouldn't be surprised. David Montgomery, behind a terrible offensive line, could end up getting Khalil Herbert involved. Wouldn't be surprised. J.K. Dobbins may be injured and not at a full capacity the whole year. Wouldn't be surprised. Like Jacobs, I mean, by all means, if Zamir White shows up as the RB1 week 1, I wouldn't be surprised. There are things here that scare the crap out of me. Is it going to happen? Could they all pan out? Sure, but, that's the thing. That's why I usually want to avoid this and start like this. Double running back, double running back, double running back. 2 running backs within my first 3 picks, Okay, let's see here. Let me go ahead and drop this off. We're in a good spot. Again, I'm going to be here for like the next 20 or so minutes. I'm going to try to answer as many questions as I possibly can, as quickly as I possibly can. I'm going to be very brief in my answers. Hopefully, they suffice. Okay, here we go. Let me scroll up just a tad bit. All right. All right, Randy H says, okay, never mind. In a 14-team league, okay, this is Will. In a 14-team league, should I pick RB, tight end, RB, or go RB wide receiver? What are your thoughts? If the tight end that you can take in the second round is Kelsey, I'm okay with it. If it's Andrews, I'd probably rather go with the other strategy, going double RB and a wide receiver. Steven says, is there any hope that the Seattle wide receivers, if Geno is the starting quarterback? I think, yeah, specifically DK Metcalf should be fine. DK Metcalf got a lot of targets when Geno was under center last year, so I think he will be okay. It's only in the condition where Drew Lock comes in that maybe where we're going to see a little bit of struggles because Drew Lock's not as good, or maybe as comfortable in the offense going forward. But you never know. 10-team, 9th pick, and 11th pick, non-PPR. I'd go probably double running back there, Gerardo. Would you go Christian Kirk or Kadarius Toney? Huh. That's a good question. Now that I'm thinking about it, I kind of want to move Christian Kirk up my board ahead of Toney because I just don't trust Daniel Jones in any capacity. So for now, I'd say Christian Kirk. You should try a 0 RB build. That's pretty much what I did. I mean, I know the real 0 RB builds is you don't even draft one until like round 9. I can't do that. It's against my religion. Moving on. What do we have here? Brian Robinson or Isaiah Pacheco? I'd rather have Brian Robinson. Have you tried 3 RBs in the first 3 rounds? What are your findings? I find that my wide receiver position is dog water, and is not, sustainable enough to keep me going. All right, so what do we have here? We have pretty good players left on the board. Let me look at this draft board here. Wide receiver was addressed. I think I want to do this. Come over here, grab Dameon Pierce and just let it ride and then see what comes back to me. Tampa Bay lost another offensive lineman. Wait, who did they lose? I know that Ryan Jensen got hurt. Who else got hurt? Did the right tackle that got Tristan Wirfs? Is that who got hurt again? Because I know that I heard something about him getting banged up at practice. It was one of those joint practices. In a vacuum, would you rather have Gallup or Hawkinson in a 14-team league? I mean, in a vacuum, probably give me the... Shoot, man. I don't know when Gallup comes back. Let's say Gallup misses the first 3 weeks. And then I'd rather have Gallup. Chances that George Pickens finishes as the top 24 wide receiver, very unlikely. I don't even want to put a percentage on it. I think it's that low. Lockett, Claypool, Okay. Pickens, Gage, Julio. Okay. We're in a spot where like it's pretty much just to take whatever the heck you'd like. Let's stack somebody here at wide receiver that could be like total high upside. Let's just take Treylon Burks and let's see what we can deal with. I don't know. Maybe like 10 weeks into the season, Treylon Burks wants to take over for me. Tampa Bay feels cursed. Their backup offensive guard, that could be tough. I mean, look, I know that Jensen's injured. They still have Shaq. Who's the guard that they traded for from New England? They still have their left tackle. As long as Tristan Wirfs is healthy, as long as the tackles are healthy, I'm okay. Because you can bring in offensive guards, either trades or stuff like that. Okay, we have a lot of Bump and Dump says, I have the 3rd overall pick in a 12-team league. What running back should I target in rounds 2 or 3? I don't even know who's going to be available. If you can get Leonard Fournette, Aaron Jones in a full PPR, 2nd round, that would be awesome. But if not, it's most likely going to have to be either like Nick Chubb or Javonte Williams. PPR, do you rank these 2nd round RBs? How do you rank these 2nd round RBs? Kamara, Swift, Barkley, Jones, Fournette. Kamara, Swift, Barkley, Jones, Fournette. I think it may be exactly that order. Actually, in a full PPR, I think it would be Kamara, Barkley, Swift, Jones, Fournette. That order exactly. As a Cowboys fan, I'm sure Gallup won't be back until week 6. I mean, I don't know where you got that information from, but Hey, wherever your source is, tell them to call me. Jiminy Christmas. How are you getting those numbers? How are you doing that math? Wirfs was also injured, I think. That's what I heard, but I don't know if that's what we were referring to. Chubb or Javonte? I'd rather have Chubb right now. I mean, Chubb's been a top 12 running back, each of the last 3 years? Or actually, he's been on pace to be a top 3 running back, but at times has gotten injured, and that's what's knocked him out of the contention, especially in the last 2 years. Does PPR and half PPR make a difference between Swift, Kamara, Cook, and Mixon? Yes, almost, maybe. Probably not. As of right now, yes, it actually does. It would switch Kamara and Cook for me. I'd rather have Kamara in a full PPR over Cook. But Mixon, in my opinion, is still probably the top dog out of that group. And Swift is still probably the bottom of the totem pole there in terms of overall ranks. ETN looks explosive. Yeah, my only concern is their offensive line. If their offensive line can't get the job done, I don't care how explosive he is, it's going to be really difficult for him. Especially if he's not given many touches. If like James Robinson comes back and he's like an immediate impact player, that could be tough. Lamar, Javonte, Dobbins, JJ, Pittman, Everett, AJ Dillon. Abdullah, I'm going to be honest. I don't know if I like that team too much. If you go JJ Pittman, if you go Justin Jefferson into Javonte Williams into Pittman, and then you get Dobbins in the 4th. I don't really like Dobbins as the 4th round. Maybe you went Lamar there. Lamar in the 4th, Dobbins in the 5th. Okay, that's okay. AJ Dillon in the 6th. Okay, I mean, I get it, but I mean, I just feel like those 2 running back picks as your starting 2 running backs is a little bit risky for my blood. What do we have here? Give me Garrett Wilson. I'm just going to go for like the rookie upside late season in this point. Can you still trust McCaffrey even though of the past injuries? I mean, okay, so let me just put this in perspective, okay? I can trust McCaffrey if I'm in a position where I play in multiple leagues. Let me give you some context. I play in 13 redraft leagues every year. I have 2 dynasty leagues. I obviously have a bunch of best ball teams, and I have a couple charity leagues that I play in. So a lot of teams. I am willing to take McCaffrey in a couple spots. I'm not drafting him everywhere, right? Because you gotta kind of diversify in terms of your rosters. Because if somebody gets hurt and all of your teams have that singular player, you're gonna be in trouble. So you gotta diversify in the idea that you got. Okay, so my turn. What have I done here? What kind of a squad have I built? Let's just take Kirk Cousins and just go full on in the building of an Omega best ball team. So you got to diversify in that idea. All right, comeback player says I'm in a 10-man, 10th pick. Everybody has the final picks of their drafts. Kind of crazy, huh? Half PPR in order: Swift, Saquon, AJ Brown, ETN. Then look for Jalen Hurts. Stack later. I mean, shoot, if you're able to do that, by all means, that would be great. But yeah, I mean, sheesh. If you're able to get Saquon, and yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. You can get Saquon and Swift at the back end of the first and then beginning of the second. AJ Brown, ETN into Jalen Hurts. I like that idea. What do you think of my team in the underdog draft? I'm in the 8th pick. All right, let's see what we got here, Mr. 8th pick. Okay, we have Eckler into CeeDee Lamb into Mike Williams. Boom, boom, boom. 3 good picks. Jalen Waddle into George Kittle. We have a hero RB then into Kyler Murray. I think those are really good picks in the 5th and 6th. Hunter Renfrow 7th. Rashad Penny, Kenneth Walker. I like that. Pickens in the 10th. Joshua Palmer. I mean, right here, let me move out of the way. Right here, okay? This spot right here, Rashad Penny and Kenneth Walker. That's the league. It's you gotta hope that one of them takes the starting spot and that player is definitively the starter rest of the way, or they do something like what Henderson and Michelle did last year, where one of them starts for like the first 10 games, and then, the other one takes over for the rest of the 10, 8 games remaining. You got to hope it's something of that extent to where you can get away with having only Eckler. But I think you can find, like we do every year, as over the course of like a regular season, assuming you're playing in a like redraft with that team, you're going to find waiver wire players, you're going to find trades, you're going to find options that present themselves over the course of a season that are going to make themselves just decent options going forward. But right now, yeah, that penny stack right there, the Seattle backfield's interesting. All right, let's see here. Bump says any late round sleepers. I mean, the late round sleepers at running back right now have been like the rookie guys, right? Kenneth Walker's, Brian Robinson, Isaiah Pacheco. Like those are the guys that people are looking at and thinking they could end up being viable like committee options that may end up taking over. So I know I agree with it, but their values are getting a little too expensive to the point where there may not be sleepers anymore. They may have to just be immediate contributors, and if they don't pan out, you're kind of wasting that pick, which is tough. Who are you higher on, Devontae Adams or Stephon Diggs? I prefer Stephon Diggs. Where are we at? I got D-Hop in the 8th round. Keep or trade for Gabriel Davis? Interesting. Keep DeAndre Hopkins in the 8th. Oh, sorry. You got him in the 8th. Do I trade him for Gabriel Davis this year? Yeah, I would rather trade him for Gabriel Davis. I would get rid of D-Hop, and I'd rather have Gabriel Davis the rest of the season. Sorry. It took me a while to understand. That's my bad. But yeah, trade him for Gabriel Davis. I'll take that. Would you take Kamara over Henry in PPR? No, I'd rather have Henry. I'd rather have Eckler than Henry, and then I'd still have Henry over Kamara. I'm on the clock again. All righty. What running backs can I invest in at this point? I can wait. Wide receivers, I can wait. Tight ends, I can wait. Let's go ahead. Let's look at wide receiver. Let's look at what can we potentially... I think we can buy in late on this, but I'm going to just take a Cousins stack here and just see what happens. Okay. Are you at all concerned with the accuracy issues of Trey Lance? Been hearing that he's less than 50% accurate in his throwing when he's throwing to his receivers. Listen, I don't know what's happening in training camp. If I can travel over to their training camp and watch a full day of practice, I get a better understanding. As of right now, I have only the information that I have, which is what he's been able to do in his preseason games and what he's been able to do last year. I mean, I would be surprised if his accuracy dipped. I mean, he started 2 games last season. He started actually 2. I mean, if you take into account the Seattle game, what was it, like week 4 or something, that he came in and took over? The dude has practically ended up playing 2.5 games last year. If you took his average numbers across the board, like I've talked about this offseason, he's not that inaccurate of a passer. I can even find those numbers for you and talk about them. Let me see here. Where is my quarterback stats spreadsheet? I have all my QB breakdowns all in one spreadsheet. Let's find Mr. Trey Lance. All right, so last season, in the 2.5 games that he was pretty much thrusted in and playing, he had 40 completions out of 70 passing attempts. What do we have here? What kind of passing completion percentage is that? 57%. All right, so if you're telling me he's less than 50%, I'd call BS on that. Now, if he ends up throwing a 62 passing completion percentage this year, I think that's relatively good. I mean, think about what Jalen Hurts was last year, 61%, right? So if we're in that same ballpark, I'm expecting the same kind of production because the rushing upside is super valuable. And let's not forget, like I've talked about a lot this offseason, the entire offense of the San Francisco 49ers is purely predicated on the idea of yards after the catch. Get the ball out of the quarterback's hands and let the receiving options take care of the rest. And that's what we're going to see. I mean, Debo and Kittle, 2 out of the last 3 seasons, have both been in the top 13 of yak yards after catch. So overall, I'm thinking we're in a good spot here. with Trey Lance. So not too not too worried, and I call BS on the idea that he's throwing less than 50%. Christian McCaffrey or JT? I'd rather have Christian McCaffrey. Anthony Barrett, thank you very much for the donation. Says, what's the earliest you would take Mark Andrews? Second round, 12-team league. I would probably take him. I'm trying to see what pick would that be. 20th pick overall. I think that's the earliest I'd take him. Yeah, 20th pick overall. Let's see here. What else we got? Okay, we got about like 5 or 6 more minutes here, and then I got to bounce. But I do appreciate you guys being here. I'm going to try to answer some questions. Do you consider Cam Akers overrated in fantasy this year? I don't know. Where do people have him rated? I have him still in my top 24. I just, there's a lot of inherent risk with his selection. So I don't know if he's overrated. I've seen people have him in the top 12. I mean, I'm like, yo, how do you have him in your top 12? That's, be careful. Like, take it easy. But yeah, I don't know where other people have him rated. Would you take Jalen Hurts or Kyler Murray? I'd rather have Jalen Hurts. Punt tight end outside of top 5. I prefer punting out of top 6 because at least at top 6, I get my hands on, what's his name? Goodness gracious. Why am I forgetting the name? Dalton Schultz. Thank you. Hurts or Russell Wilson? I'd rather have Hurts. What are your thoughts on taking 3 RBs in the first 3 rounds in a 14-team league? I'm pretty against it. I'm okay with getting 2 in the top 3 rounds, but not 3 in a row. I think that just leaves you way too thin at wide receiver. If you're okay having, your second starting wide receiver to be Chase Claypool every week, then okay. But I think that's, it's pretty risky in a 14-team league. 8-team Superflex, obviously want Allen at number 1. But say he's gone, who are the next 3 quarterbacks? All right, so once again, before we end today's stream, I want to remind you guys, before I answer that question, if you sign up via Underdog today using promo code Andrew, make a first-time deposit, I will be sending out draft rankings. I probably am going to get those out. If you've signed up in the last 24 hours prior to the next minute that hits 2 o'clock, your rankings will be set in the next 10 minutes after I get off stream. That's literally why I'm getting off stream, so I can send that email to y'all. So you guys are ready in case you draft later tonight or tomorrow, stuff like that. But nonetheless, if you want my rankings, sign up. The email will come to you within 24 hours, or you can check out the Patreon. There's a link down there for those of you who are interested. You can check out that. I also offer rankings there. Outside of that, in terms of the question you were asking, if Josh Allen's gone, the next 3 quarterbacks should go Herbert, Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson. That's my opinion, and that's how I would do it. Thoughts on Broncos tight ends with long name? Albert Okwuegbunam. He's a good tight end, but he's getting second-team reps because Greg Dulcich, the UCLA tight end they drafted, who, by everything I've seen from his college tape to his metrics, his speed, he is a vertical threat as a tight end. He kind of reminds me of David Njoku in the idea that he's a consistent vertical threat and will be used as such. And I mean, Nathaniel Hackett already said this offseason that that's how they're going to use him. So Albert Okwuegbunam being drafted where he is way too risky of a selection in my eyes. Could end up being perfectly fine, if he was the only tight end in that offense. But considering he's going to have to be competing, not interested. Would you take Breece over Aaron Jones in a 1 keeper running back league? Oh, man. I mean, if there's no penalty and you're just keeping him for the next couple years, oh man, that is so difficult to predict because Aaron Jones still got a couple years left on his contract, but he's near the end of his rope per se. I think if you're playing in a dynasty league, yeah. I mean, if you're thinking about it in a dynasty format, yeah, you'd rather have Breece Hall. But if you're trying to win this year, I'd rather have Aaron Jones. But yeah, if you're thinking future, then yeah, you got to go Breece Hall. Is trying to trade up to Andrews when you have Kittle, Waller worth it? No, I don't think so. I mean, it's certainly a pretty big upgrade at tight end, but I don't think the value in which the trade that you'll have to make is going to be good enough. Tram said A-Rod or Cousins. I'd rather have Cousins this year. Would you take a punter in the last round? LOL. Yeah, imagine if they were punting. Is it risky to draft now? I want to draft last week before the regular season. I think there are arguments for both ways, Nick. You can draft now and cash in on some later ADPs. In the idea, like, I drafted a super flex team in the beginning of July, right? I was able to get players like a Michael Thomas way later than I would now, right? Because people don't believe in those players, and after time they begin to get, you know, a little bit more open up to their potential. So there are two ways. You can either avoid all injury risk by drafting later, or you can have some inherent risk but also go after trying to get players at lower ADPs at cheaper values because people are sleeping on them. How do you feel about AJ Brown? I think he's my number 13 wide receiver in a half and a number 14 in a full PPR. I think he's perfectly fine where he's being drafted in that regard. Okay, couple more questions and then I'm out. Best spot to draft from in a 12-man league, I'd say 1 through 6. What are your thoughts on taking 3 running backs in the first 3 rounds in a 14-team league? Yeah, like I mentioned, Brendan, I'm not a fan of it. I'd rather get 2 running backs and a wide receiver. I understand the idea of getting like Mixon, Williams, or like Zeke in your first 3 picks, but man, your wide receiver position is going to be thin. If you want to play it as such, you certainly can and still find success, but I think it's very risky to do. A couple more. Okay, Jared says 12-team Superflex. Starting lineup is Russ, Lance. Okay, those are 2 great quarterbacks. Swift, Javonte, JT. Okay, Pittman, Hollywood, Hunter Henry. Yeah, I'm okay with Hunter Henry there because at least you have touchdown upside from your tight end. He's not gonna have great weeks consecutively, but at least you'll get like half the year to be pretty good. Brown, Moore, Evans in the 3rd round in a 14-team league. Wait, Brown, Moore, or Evans? So if Mike Evans is available in the 3rd round, you should take him, Jacob. DJ Moore, I'd much rather have Evans, and Marquise Brown. I would literally rank them Evans, Moore, Brown in that order, especially if it's full PPR. What do we got? Okay, a couple more. Okay, 9th pick in a 10-team league. Do you think I should take 3 running backs in my first 3 rounds? No, again, guys, Alec, I don't think you should be. I think you should probably try to go and grab 2 running backs. 3rd round, try to get that wide receiver. 4th round, if a running back has fallen to you and he's there and available, you take him in the 4th, but you don't want to triple stack RBs, man. Even especially in, I mean, yeah, I don't in any capacity see that as a optimal play unless they're players that really shouldn't be there that are available. Burrow or Lance, I prefer Burrow this year. 4-point and 6-point, doesn't matter the format. What do you think is the best format to play in your home league? Half PPR, super flex, 8 bench spots, fab, along with, what else do we want to do? -3 per interception, +6 points per touchdown pass, something like that. Like, and then also have so you have one quarterback, a super flex, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 2 flex, kicker, defense, 8 bench. The reason why I say 8 bench is because it forces people to have to trade. You can no longer go to the waiver wire and get bailed out. You will get bailed out in some circumstances, but you can't do it every single week, you know? Julio in the 10th, I like that option. Would you say the 3rd overall pick is a good spot in the 12th? Yes, I think anything in the top 6 is a really, honestly, I think every spot is a good spot. But the fact that I'm able to get like 3rd overall, one of the 3 best players, I'm happy with that. Especially wide receivers like Kupp or Jefferson. And I'm not really having to worry about injury risk as much as running back, considering how many hits running backs take in comparison. Christian McCaffrey or Javonte Williams, good. And Javonte Williams, good. I think that's a decent start. Obviously, pretty high risk, but I think the reward is pretty good. Nathan, thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right, guys. That settles it for today. I appreciate you all coming out. Yesterday, we had a 3-hour stream. Today, we had a 2-hour stream. Tomorrow, we'll get back to daily video uploads. Tuesday, running back strength of schedule. Wednesday, wide receiver strength of schedule. big episodes for the year. We'll give you a lot of context as to how I've gone about calculating those numbers, determining the effectiveness of offensive lines, effectiveness of of front seven defenses, interior defensive linemen, defensive ends, inside linebackers, and how they're going to, on a weekly basis, match up against opposing offensive lines, and how that difference can give you an advantage along just besides the running back, potential. A lot of people, when they look at running back strength of schedule, they take certain things into account. Specifically, when you look at the strength of schedule at running back, you cannot include receptions as value, because at many different circumstances, you cannot guess how many receptions the team is going to give up. I've already done the breakdown. I'll explain it to you on Tuesday. It doesn't matter how good a defense is at stopping running backs in terms of catching the ball. If a team exclusively targets their running backs, whether it is Tampa Bay or the Los Angeles Chargers or the New Orleans Saints, as long as it's a team that is committed to that idea, it doesn't matter if it's a difficult matchup or an easy matchup, they will continue to do it. And that is what isolates those values as a completely separate metric, and where you have to completely just look at rushing stats allowed, and then offensive and defensive line efficiencies and ratings, and just go with such. I'll explain it. It'll be fun. Thank you everybody for watching. Check out Underdog Fantasy. Sign up today. Check out the Patreon. Link is in the description. We have a public Discord server for those of you who are interested. Outside of all of that, I appreciate your guys' time. Derrick Henry, a first rounder? Yes, 100%. And until next time, tomorrow, I'll see you guys. Peace.